Narcotics. Whoa, yeah. We the livest to smoke. Come and face dive in this coat. I don't serve a dime in my flow. It's all bricks, nigga. When I'm cooking, it's all wrist, nigga. Go see Poppy get all fish, nigga. Scale. We whipping water. Chop bricks down to quarters. Phone ringing, what's your order, nigga? Phone ringing, what's your order, nigga? Phone ringing, and what's your order, nigga? Phone ringing, and what's your order? Phone ringing, and what's your order? Hey, yo, my street operation serve the fiend population. Chopper do amputation if ever I see my cake thing. Niggas, they love to spray things. Mothers, they say amen. After sad prayers, we dealers with mad flavors. Fly bitches, they ass calm. Have you ever seen that? S-Class, the mean cat. Kid with the lean back. Mac, where the fiends at? Fiending for some feedback. Beam on a clean strap. Junkie hit the touchdown dance before he lean back. Let me know he need that. Let him know the team back. Throw up the 8 and trap. Yeah, this is for my niggas that's wishing that they could bring cheese back. Wishing that they could bring weeds back. Dunbar nigga, we bring the streets back. Bunchy Carter, yeah, I bring the heat strap. Whoa. We the livest to smoke. Come and face dive in this coat. I don't serve a dime in my flow. It's all bricks, nigga. When I'm cooking, it's all wrist, nigga. Go see Poppy get all fish, nigga. We whipping water. Chop bricks down to quarters. Phone ringing, what's your order, nigga? Phone ringing, what's your order, nigga? Phone ringing, and what's your order, nigga?
Let's get it.
Phone ringing, and what's your order? Phone ringing, and what's your order?
Been the livest niggas and stood tall. That coke ain't pure, it's stepped on. Collecting inspired. My niggas rock rings like they retired. Olympic gold medalist whippers, calling your order. No respect, the niggas out there serving your daughters. Give it to mothers, watch for undercovers, they lovers. I can't hide, I'm a big boy, sliding in my blue cool. They see Villa come up, they don't like me like they used to. But that's the shit I'm used to. We gon' make it like Jada say. What I write gon' take us out the hood, so put the heat away. Young and go get that bag, like Mika say. 4 pounds stuck to your gut, you smelling beef today. Shit, it's gonna be a little hard for you to sleep today. The bangers out there 16 bustin', letting them heaters spray.
We the livest to smoke. Come and face dive in this coat. I don't serve a dime in my flow. It's all bricks, nigga. When I'm cooking, it's all wrist, nigga. Go see Poppy get all fish, nigga. We whipping water. Chop bricks down to quarters. Phone ringing, what's your order, nigga? Phone ringing, what's your order, nigga? Phone ringing, and what's your order, nigga? Phone ringing, and what's your order? Phone ringing, and what's your order?
Jack chirping like the spring, serving white face like I'm Sting. I ain't serving fake dope, you know, cause that's the thing. Shoot a sleeve in a week and my feet won't OD. Still whipping water. Chop bricks down in the quarters. Phone ringing, nigga, what's your order? DT trailer fiend smooth in the 4-door. See me hit the lick, hit the dip at the corner. He bust the right, so you know I bust the right harder. Gas station bathroom, hit the secret compartment. Chotch burn the cartridge. It's no footage for departments. I'm in the top floor, grape on in my apartment. Damn.
We the livest to smoke. Come and face dive in this coat. I don't serve a dime in my flow. It's all bricks, nigga. When I'm cooking, it's all wrist, nigga. Go see Poppy get all fish, nigga. We whipping water. Chop bricks down to quarters. Phone ringing, what's your order, nigga?
Yo. How my voice sounding? Looking over there, looks how it's supposed to. Peace, Vandals and Vandalettes. It's the God Mathematics, and you now watching the Vandal Hour Season 6 live on S.STREET Media. Make sure you check us out on all of our platforms. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Audio Mac. Check us out on YouTube and wherever the fuck we at. And that's every live. Make sure you check us out at our new date and time, and that's every afternoon from 4-ish to 6-ish. Yeah, we usually not on time, but you know that's what dudes that get high. That's how they move. So and we're them dudes. You can also catch us live on our new website at www.sstreetmedia.info, where you can find out everything about us, what we got going on here at S.STREET Media, with the Vandal Hour and all our other shows we're associated with. You can catch us on Ustream. Pardon yourself. You can catch us on Ustream, which is the live broadcast. If you want to watch us live like right now, make sure you just go to Ustream, go to the Vandal Hour Instagram page, hit the link, watch old episodes, watch new episodes. Now, you know, I'm feeling kind of great tonight. You know, groovy Saturday. The weather is nice, 80 degrees. I'm chilling with Sosa on the motherfucking boards. We don't have the other Vandal Hour guards here tonight as we usually do. But shout out to all the Vandal Hour guards. Facts on Wax, E. Sinatra, June 457, Dre Kill Films, the Bring That Back dude who I always forget, Brat, Giggles, and everyone else who supports and help us get to the point that where we at right now. Now I have a very, very special guest on the Vandal Hour today. I will call him Graph Royalty. You know what I mean? He's not just the person, you know, who jumped in for a year, jumped out. Nah, this dude has been going strong for a very long time. When I was a young writer in the game from Brooklyn, I seen this dude, his productions. He was in magazines. They talked about him. I didn't know what the 5 stood for. You know, I'm a 5%. I thought the 5 was like, you know, the guards. They doing a lot of, you know, Egyptian themes and, you know, great productions. But I have the one and only Doc TC5 in a motherfucking building.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'm here. Glad to be here.
I appreciate you. What's even deeper, as I was speaking to the brother off camera, that I didn't know, and I'm one of the, you know, out the loop people. I'm one of the people that didn't know that he also wrote Arab TC5. So I want to welcome Arab TC5 to the motherfucking Vandal Hour also.
We can definitely do that.
You know what I mean? For the young writer coming up in the grab game like myself during those times, you know, I consider TC5 synonymous with the with writing, man. Before we get into our guest, there's a few things I wanted to just go into. You know, we gotta talk about some of the things that's going on this week in the world. And I'm pretty much I'm not going to do too many topics today because I want to build with the guard, but I want to go through some things. The Tekashi 69 thing is bubbling all over the net, social media, the news, everywhere. If you haven't heard, the brother has took the stand this week. He spoke about crimes that he was involved in. He also spoke about crimes that he wasn't involved in, but that he also had knowledge of. One of the people that he's going to call for is the dude Nuke, and a dude named allegedly Harv, who was allegedly 9 Trey Bloods, and these are some of the people that abducted the dude and robbed him. These are some of the dudes that was plotting on violating him. We don't know what violating mean. In New York, violating could mean you getting stomped out, you getting smacked. It could mean a million things. But they say, you know, that it was murder that they were saying super violated over. But a lot of people has become casualties to this brother's testimony. One of the people that has become a casualty to the dude that snitched Tekashi 6ix9ine is Jim Jones. Jim Jones is allegedly the person who's speaking on the phone to Mel Matrix, telling Mel Matrix to super violate Tekashi 6ix9ine because of his Breakfast Club interview prior to that. He has also spoke about Trippie Redd being a brim, allegedly. He also spoke about Cardi B, allegedly a 5'9" brim, and so many other people that had nothing to do with the case, but he spoke about. The internet is going crazy. When I say it's going crazy, it is going ape shit over this dude's testimony. They got a million memes out there talking about, you can't walk out of New Apollo's. New Apollo's is letting dudes walk out with drinks. They had one that at least he didn't say my name type of memes out there. This dude is become the same social media circus that he was involved in is now in a whirlwind over him snitching. And a lot of people are saying, can this dude come home and still be a rapper? I don't think so. No. This is like the proportions of Sammy the Bull, if not more, bigger. They saying that he is the most famous now snitch that ever has graced the courtrooms. That is crazy. I met the brother at DTF Radio about 4 years ago, four and a half years ago, and he had a promising career. He was beginning to go on his search to become a MC. I let him into DTF Radio. Spoke with the brother. He sent me some videos. It was crazy. Before this court shit, I kind of felt good that I met the young brother before his climb. Now I'm feeling kind of shitty that I still got his motherfucking email in my goddamn inbox. I showed my son that shit. I'm embarrassed now. I'm embarrassed. I come from a criminal background, and that shit is an embarrassment. It's crazy. I got a picture with Bushwick Bill and another alleged snitch. God bless the dead, goddamn. But it's crazy, man. This shit is crazy, man. I just feel bad for the families of the people that he's implicating, man. He chose this lifestyle, and now he's bringing the world down with him. Children, mothers, cousins, aunts, whatever. Jim Jones, man, it's crazy. They on his ass now if they was not already. It's crazy. Everybody want to be affiliated into the times when the feds find out who's affiliated. They going through these pictures, looking at people throwing up their fucking hands and these signs. Everybody want to throw up a sign. You throw up a peace sign, you might be affiliated with something. This shit is crazy, man. So I just wanted to speak on that real quick. Also, this week, the Rudy Lowe interview on Queen's Flip came out. Shout out to Rudy Lowe. Who was formerly on different shows at S.STREET. One of them being J-Lo show, J-Lo YNN, Real Game. We have like 500 plus views on that. He was also on the Vandal Hour about a month ago, if not less. So right now, this fucking shit is going viral. Shout out to Rudy Lowe and everything that he's doing. I didn't get to see the full video. I watched the 30-minute video. It was a good interview. And it's about his history, what he went through in prison, the low-life shit, things of that sort. So shout out to Rudy Lowe, who's doing this thing right now. I also want to talk about, and this is just hot off the press, Sosa gave this to me today. American Airlines passenger goes nuts and smoke on board, and the plane had to make an emergency stop. Well, I'm going to say this. Shout out to that trailblazer. Shout out to the Rosa Parks for weed for trying to attempt to smoke on a plane. If you can't get high on a plane, there is no higher than being high on a plane. So I commend that person for daring to smoke on a plane. I hope he rolled something. It wasn't no fucking vape, because that's fake shit. You know, be careful for these vapes. Vape shit is killing people. But my man got something for sale. You know, it's crazy, man. You know, you can't. It's going to be a time. There was a time that you could smoke on planes. I don't know if y'all see old movies, but they used to smoke cigarettes like in the movie theater, everywhere.
I was on planes when they smoked.
Right. So, yeah. So it's not too far removed what we're talking about. There is a possibility within the next 10 years or less, you will be seeing smoking on planes again. So, you know, shout out to that man who tried to smoke on American Airlines. Maybe try that on Delta. Delta I have better experiences with, me personally. I understand. Real quick, for the people that might not be familiar with this part of the show, but this is where we get into Swift is not here. We have no sound effects. Shit happens like that sometimes. This is this week in the Vandal Hour News. Now, we have an event that's happening today at S.STREET Media Studios. What is called, God? He don't know the name of his own event. National New York Day. So if you have nothing going on today, come to 1639 Century, Centre Street, room 111, the Vandal Hour, S.STREET Media, 1718 Collective offices. Come hang out, check some dope art. I just seen some shit by Tal. Shout out to Tals, man, who just came through the building a little while ago. We have a lot of dope art that's going to be there. So if you want to see some dope art, we doing poetry too. Yeah, so poets too. You know what I mean? You might hear some sexual poetry or something from somebody. You know what I mean? So come out. It's only $5. Come through. We're gonna have food. Come hang out. You always know we got that ganja somewhere close by. I don't know where it comes from. This should be full out the sky like this, the weed parade. But you know, come through, hang out with the guards, and build with us, man. Now, I usually have other news for what's going on in the community, but I don't this week. But I do have this week in Van News Flexing. We come to pump you up. Yes, we don't have that sound bite either, because Swift is not here. But you know, we got to make sure that we keep the motherfucking flavor rolling with the flavor. This week in Van News Flexing, we had Phils from Noxa and Ano on our page. We have Phils multiple times from Dessa, MTA, on our page. We had a Phil from Skiz on our page. We had a piece by Reps, HDM, TMR, on our page also. Fly shit. Shout out to the Vandal Hour guard, Reps, who's the one that designed all of our Vandal Hour designs and stuff, except for the original bloody one, which came from A1. We also had a fill from KVC that was real dope. And, you know, what is Vandals Flexing without MAP 36? Shout out to MAP 36, who's been flexing for a very long time, man. I gotta shout out all the people who's consistent in this game. And MAP is definitely consistent in this game. So shout out to all the people that are on the Van News Flexing. If you want to be featured on Van News Flexing, you can send us a DM with a picture of your stuff, or we could steal it from your page by using repost, or you can send us some shit and it's whack and we don't post it. That's the outcome. But you can send us your DM. See if we are posted on our page. If you think your shit is that fly, send it to us. We if it's dope, we will post it on our page. Now in regular news, this is kind of personal. It's in the newspaper. There's a title of an article that's in the newspaper today in the Daily News, if I'm not mistaken. It's called a Brooklyn legend. This Brooklyn legend dies. If I'm not mistaken, it's my man Efro, aka E, Fly Guy E. You know, for the people who's from Williamsburg, Brooklyn, a lot of dudes know who E is. He held down Graham Avenue for a long time. Very good friend of mine. He used to come to our my people's 420 sessions all the time. He has supported us in many of my events. I'm glad that I got to meet the brother and build with him, and you know, it's always been positive with us, man. So shout out to all the people who lost. The brother was stabbed on Graham Avenue and died inside of a store. A lot of people are very hurt and feeling upset over this situation because E was a good guy. You know, who did a lot of positive things. He supported a lot of people. Shout out to Maniac. He shot his daughter's baby shower recently. Maniac was charging $200. He gave Maniac $250 for his first photography video job. So a lot of people, my Brooklyn people from Privilege. Shout out to everybody from Bushwick, Borinquen, Little Borinquen, Borum, who's really feeling hurt right now. As I said, E was a positive dude, and you know, I just want to say rest in peace to him, and my condolences to him and his family. I don't want to keep the flow of this in that, but you know, I want to get into this guest, man. As I said, we gave him a dope intro in the beginning. To me, in my eyes, you know, I met Easy at a late age. And that was my bombing influence and my piecing influence. I don't piece, but if I could have pieced, yeah, because I never was really good in that. Shout out to my cousin Hops, and Stemming them, who's really good at that, who tried to teach me and I couldn't learn. But this dude was one of them, the people who really, he's the shit to me. You know what I mean? My man Doc, TC5, how you doing, man?
I'm great. Let's do this.
You know, as I said for myself, I just recently today found out you are also Arab. You know, you having these two big tags, two big important pieces. I mean, two important tags. When it was time to do work on the walls, how did you decide which one you're going to use?
Well, first it was trains, and locally I was known as Doc. That was the name my mother gave me. It wasn't even like a graffiti thing. So that always came first, and then years later, when I started to get heavily into style, I needed a name that could really, really pop. You know what I mean? I needed something that banged, that had cohesive letters, something I can get real funky with. And I was writing with a female writer at the time, and her name was Abby, and I always liked those letters. And I said, okay, let me flip that around, move this way. You know what? Arab is kind of dope. Let me jump on that.
Let me ask you a question. How many people really thought you was an Arab, though?
A few.
I just had to ask that.
Actually, the funnier part is how many Arabic writers that I met later on, and they just were like, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, they're hurt. They're real butthurt over that. They're like, bro, why didn't I think of that? Like, who would have thought I could have just, you know.
It's so distinctive, God. Like, no lie to you.
It is.
Nobody try to take it. Like, it's one of them things like, don't touch this one.
Yeah, that's an off-limits name. There's a million Docs. A million. Maybe 1,010,000, but There's only one Arab, you know. So, and I'm very, very funny about that. There was a kid on the West Coast that was trying to rock it for a hot minute, and my boys had to go see him, you know. And I think they went over his stuff.
That should be serious.
Yeah. Any name but that name. I'm not sharing. I can't. You can't even write like.
Don't put no tool.
No. I'm coming after you. I'm coming after you.
So for the people that's watching, we have a younger generation besides an older generation.
Okay.
I have questions, but tell us a little bit of history about your graph coming up.
It's the same story every time. You know, it's like today's Tom Sawyer. You know, if anyone's familiar with that book or the movie, it's, you know, a bunch of kids going on that adventure, you know. And we're from that pre-electronic time where you played with a box, a skate, you know, a garbage can, you know, a refrigerator box. You know, that was life for us. So our generation was a little bit more creative, you know, compared to, like, I watch the generation of kids now. I think the electronics is dulling them. They don't have that creative spirit. So for us, it was just that thing, you know, kids out there discovering, looking around, going on that adventure, you playing in lots, jumping on dirty mattresses, and you just happen to see somebody doing it. And that's how it was for us.
Who was that person that you seen?
Believe it or not, I actually still remember. This was maybe 1975 or 76. There was two guys, and they were doing graffiti in the bleachers in Cyprus. And one guy's name was Vice, and the other guy's name was Fork. And they did like a blockbuster on the bleachers, and we just sat there, me and my original partner KC1, because we were playing baseball, you know, while they were painting. And we stopped, we put the bat and the glove down, and we just sat in the grass and watched them. And we were amazed at the way that it was an actual process, that they would, you know, okay, we're going to take this color, we're going to do the sketch. They took another color, they filled it in, then they outlined it, and they did the 3D, and we just were blown away. Like, we just thought it was so random. You know, we thought one can had all the colors in it. Like, you just threw it up like a computer, just like, and it was there. That's how we imagined it. To actually see the detail and the process, it was mind-blowing. And what really sealed the deal was they noticed we were watching them, and one of the writers walked over to us and said, listen, we want you to watch this. If anybody goes over it, let us know. And we were like, that's a thing? Like, now we understood it was culture. And that is the next level.
That is deep, man. You know, being that you're from East New York, and so when I hear that story, I'm thinking about, you know, I'm trying to picture the time.
Right.
Describe to us what was going on in East New York during that time outside of Grav.
Well, 76 was, you know, that was the bicentennial year. Life was great in Brooklyn. You know, we still had working class people in the projects. It wasn't bad at all. You know, I was having a ball as a kid. And it wasn't problematic at all. All we did was play all day and then go to school during the school year. So, you know, it's not the same picture, you know, because, you know, everything's different through a child's eye. You know, we don't see the, you know, the stress,
the struggle,
and the struggle that our parents are going through. Before a kid in 76 in the P's, it was beautiful. You know, going to the community center, you know, running from the housing police, you know, busting the door open on the roof, going up to Pebble Beach, you know, all that stuff. That's Brooklyn. So it wasn't bad at all, but I did notice the writing on the wall. You know, it always drew me back, and I was just always amazed at all these names on the walls, you know, and just, I would always take time to stop and read them, and always wonder, like, why did this guy write his name on the wall? Like, what's that about? And I remember me and the same guy, my original partner, KC1, we went and got like little El Marcos from school, and we just wrote our name all over the building, just whatever words we could think of, and but we never went anywhere with that. It wasn't until we saw the two guys doing the piece in the park, that's when it was on and popping.
So so now the transition happens.
Right.
You see it. You have a idea, not a deep understanding, but an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
When do you say, I want to take this to the next level?
Well, almost immediately. But it's always about supplies. Where does a kid get spray paint from? Most people, the first paint they ever used came from under the kitchen cabinet or from their grandmother or uncle's garage. So now we spent like all of 77 trying to get paint so we could do something. And I'll never forget, I was 13 years old, and I was working for a contractor that summer. And we went into a lumber yard to get some supplies. And when he wasn't looking, I bought a couple of cans. And I'll never forget getting back into the truck, and the dude was like, why do you have 8 spray cans, and what do you want to do with that? And I was like, oh, no, I got to paint a bike, and I got to, do. He's looking at me like, right. And I remember that mixed up with some paint that we got from the neighborhood and what he got, because we weren't aware of racking yet. We weren't aware that if you're going to do
We got to steal this.
You got to steal the paint. That we weren't on that level yet. So I'll never forget, in the summer of 77, we did what we thought was the dopest blockbuster on PS 248, my old elementary school by Pink Houses, and you couldn't tell us nothing. We was the shit. Like, we could have just stopped right there. We were the kings of New York. And I'll never forget, that thing stayed up there a long time. And it was trash. And I just remember always going by it like, when is this school going to clean that off? Help a brother out, because that's horrible when dudes say, oh, I seen that thing you did. That's you, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, I know. It wasn't that great.
You know what's crazy? Because now that I'm older, and I really look at graph from an analytical point now, I like to see a writer progress. Like, I like to see the writer in an early stage, like now.
Sure.
I like to see like the ugly tag first.
No, the early stage is the best time, because it's a situation of you just not knowing or not having understanding or knowledge, but about that. Mm-hmm. So what winds up happening is they do incredible things. They just don't understand it. They can't recognize. I'm gonna make you laugh. I go through the city all the time, and I just look at all toy shit all the time, because I can see the progression. I can see the little,
I follow those. I follow them little ones.
Yeah, I see the tidbits of genius, and I go, wow, look what this kid did. I'm gonna use that.
True
good
indeed.
looking, good
True
looking,
indeed.
good looking, shorty.
The most innovative shit be in them early stages.
It's done through ignorance half the time when it comes to creativity. They're not conscious or aware of the journey. They don't even know that at that moment, if they had documented it and they could look back 10, 15 years later and be like, oh, that wasn't half bad. Oh, look what I did. I just stumbled on that. But that's the creative process.
Now let's step into the years of Doc TC5.
Okay, that's a big fast forward.
I know I skipped some stuff.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Well,
Bring me to that.
The journey jumped ahead because of a nightclub called the Roxy's.
I want to cut your wisdom.
Yeah.
But for the people who's listening, can you tell us about the Roxy before you?
Sure. The Roxy's was a roller skating rink, which a lot of people didn't know. It was one of the biggest roller skating rinks in the city, and when a club, I think it was either Negril or Common Ground, which was when hip hop culture. I hate the word hip hop because everybody thinks music is hip hop. When hip hop culture came above ground, it was at either Common Ground or Negril. I think it might have been the Grill, and they closed down like on one of their first nights. you know, or when the party was about to jump off, and they asked the Roxy's could they move the party there, and I'll never forget it because when I had been there skating before, and when I went there was a giant canvas that cut off like maybe 90% of the floor, maybe 90 to 95% of the floor. So you were just dancing on the top of the oval. And they had the whole setup there, DST, you know, Fab Five Freddy, Ram LZ, Dondi, you know, like it was just sensory overload. You had Rocksteady Crew, you had, you know, Zulu Nation, you had everybody. To be in that was like if you could turn life into pure cocaine. That's what it was. The purest. The purest. It would just be mind blowing. You know, one shot, you just start bleeding. You know, it was the real deal. So that had to be maybe when I was 15 years old. I think that happened. The Roxy started, and it was the most mind blowing experience because people from all over the world came there. One of the promoters was from England, and there was just so many people plugged in with that downtown scene that they all came to the Roxy's. So you'd be bumping up, partying with a chick from England, chicks from North Africa, you know, Asian chicks, you know, it was just popping. And it was our music, our scene, our people. You know, you wasn't mixing with people that wasn't from the culture. So it was incredible. So as a kid coming from Brooklyn, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, getting to see this, and then now able to rub elbows with just dudes that I saw on trains, dudes that I saw on the streets. Now I'm able to put a face with the name. And it was just incredible. So now I'm making friends with people from the Bronx, people from Manhattan, people from Queens, people from Staten Island. And now it just grows. Because now this, you know, the net has been thrown out and it pulled us all in. And now we're all linking up, making plans. Then it got ugly. Because now people who would have never met, it would have taken maybe another 10, 15 years to meet. We all met and crashed into each other in this setting, and it was just unbelievable. You know, you'd leave the Roxy's and you'd have contacts. You would have graffiti contacts. You'd have like gallery contacts. You'd have get high contacts. You'd have, you know, a million phone numbers of chicks you're never gonna see again because they don't even live in New York or they just coming through for the summer. I mean, just crazy. It was just an incredible scene. But the beautiful part about it, like I said, it was a skating oval. Every week, they had to move the canvas back because it kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And then the culture just exploded after that. You know, you had, you know, tours started out of this. You know, like when the Wild Style tour with Zulu Nation, Rocksteady, a bunch of different writers and rappers and all kind of people that went over and toured Europe. All of that stuff, that energy built up in the Roxy's. You know, music videos like Buffalo Gals filmed in the Roxy's, among other places.
Oh, wow. And that's one of my favorite videos.
Sure. If you look at the scenes in the Roxy's, you'll see Dondi White.
The tags, true indeed.
You know, the Roxy's was just that place that you just couldn't miss. If you was sick, you was going.
Like a Mecca almost.
If you was on punishment, you was jumping out the window. If you missed one weekend, you would miss like a lifetime because it was moving so fast. You would miss like a weekend or two, and dudes would come back around the way and be like, bro, you blew it. Like, how could you have not been there? This and this happened. This dude got punched in the face. This dude, he maxed on 3 chicks. This dude, he had a whole handful of drink tickets. This dude, like, it would just be so wild. And there were so many guest appearances, like the originals that really put this down and made it possible for it to be where it's at now. You never knew who's going to walk in on the stage on the Roxy's. You never knew what the show was going to be. You know, they would be spray painting right there while we were dancing.
Wow.
Nobody complained. It was just incredible. You just never knew You know, one week it'd be Africa Islam, another week it'd be DST, another week it'd be Flash, another week it'd be, you know, it just would be. And if you miss that, you know, and then just as quickly as it came in, it was gone.
So how do Doc emerge from this,
Well,
graph-wise?
because I got to meet a lot of people. I met a brother named Toxic from the Bronx, and me and him got cool, and he knew almost everybody uptown. And he just made a point of it, like, yo, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. And I just thought he introduced me to everybody. So now I'm on first name basis with everyone that matters. And those people are introducing me to people that matter even more. And then those people are introducing me to Frontline, you know, the people we consider, you know, the gods of this whole graffiti culture. And I got to chill, break bread, you know. Back then, you know, they passing the joint around. I'm like, well, I don't really do that, but these dudes is high post. Give me that. I can't look slow, you know.
I'm involved.
Yeah, give me that. I'm
involved.
Here. I'm not missing nothing. You know, it was just so incredible. And if the Roxys would have never happened, I think this culture would have stalled probably like 10, 15 years. We would be still back 10, 15, 20 years. So much happened in that short little time, as far as people realizing that they could monetize this culture. You know, people realizing that, you know, this graffiti thing ain't a joke anymore. We might be able to put this on canvas and make some money. You know, these rappers, we need to wrangle them. They're making money out here in the streets, and we not getting a piece of that. You know, all of that happened. You know, DJs started becoming producers. You know, dudes is walking in the studio with Walter Baker and, you know, and brothers like that was showing them how to make beats and work drum machines, and then everything just happened.
Outside of the graph part, what was you into also in hip hop? Like,
No, I said Walter Baker. It's Arthur Baker. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Outside of the graph part, what else you was into in the aspect of hip hop?
DJing. I was actually spinning before I wrote, which was kind of organic for me. My mother used to have house parties sometimes in the house, and they would always put the turntables and the whole console in my bedroom. And I would have to sit there, you know, in my underoos watching this guy play music all night, and they would leave records behind sometimes. Ooh. And I actually still have one of those 12 inches from the early 70s. I'll never forget, it was Bruce Johnson, Pipeline.
Wow.
And he left that in my bedroom. And I still have that record in my collection to this day. And that was kind of like entry level for me. You know, the way he set up, when I got my turntables and my mixer, I set up the same way he did. And I was just, but I mean, even before that, I was doing, I don't know if people remember pause tapes.
Yes.
You know, that was a whole thing unto itself. If you had a tape recorder, a boom box that had a nice trigger on the pause button, you could almost make backspin tapes and cuts and blend. We used to go ape shit with that, and we would be doing good times. Dudes thought we had turntables, but we were using the pause button, and we started with that. And then my first sound system was actually 2 sound systems. There was 2 tables, 2 amps, and 4 speakers, because no one had a mixer back then. You know, wow. These things, like I just laugh now at how everything is so accessible.
Push and play. That's everything.
But
now.
I'm not mad at that. That's progress. But I'm saying that people don't even they're not even from that time before you could get a mixer. If you look at some of the early culture flicks, you'll see guys mixing with studio mixes that they ripped out of like radio stations, school radio stations, and other radio stations. It had no box. It would just be guts sitting on the table because nobody had one. If it wasn't until the blackout of '77, most people in the culture didn't have any equipment.
You know what's funny? I just was read somebody else. I forgot where I sent it, but That was the come up for a lot of people with the DJ.
Especially
All the
Bronx.
DJs popped up after
No,
'77.
especially the Bronx, because the Bronx takes credit for everything.
I heard
they
that.
They take credit for everything, but Brooklyn and Queens had sound systems before Uptown. Period. Queens was almost like number one. If it wasn't for like Flowers and a few other people in Brooklyn.
I was just about to ask you.
Yeah, and a couple of Caribbean brothers that had their sound system, because that was really a Caribbean thing. They had sound systems.
Clashes and shit like that.
They had sounds. They brought that knowledge up from Jamaica, and when they got here, they built these sound systems, and they had all that stuff way before our culture started, way before. So the brothers that grew up in that culture and then started DJing, they were the first to have equipment, and the Bronx and Uptown cats had no equipment.
You know, I have a lot of Jamaica Queens friends. And a lot of them is DJs. They DJ culture in Jamaica Ave is huge, huge. And a lot of people don't talk about their.
Well, there's an actual documentary. I can't think of it right now, but I'll look it up when we finish. And it talks about the contributions of Brooklyn and Queens to the culture and how they were light years ahead of what was happening uptown. I mean, if you look at there's an early film of Kool Herc driving around in a convertible, and he's got speakers in the back of the convertible. If you look at those speakers, they're guitar speakers.
Wow.
Back when I was a kid, they used to make these really ornate speakers for guitars, and they were wrapped in vinyl and leather, and they would have the impression with the buttons on it, and it was very ornate. That's what he had in the back of it. He didn't have DJ speakers. He had guitar speakers. And I knew the difference because I knew what DJ speakers looked like. Because I also played guitar when I was a kid. I played bass guitar, so I had one of those things. So I knew what I said, that's not DJ speakers. You know, this, what? Like, what's that? Because I had seen him. If you really want to get your mind blown, there was a brother named Brother Ellis in Cyprus. He was a builder. He was a master builder. This dude built a DJ set in a coffin.
That would be the beginning of that.
Bro, no one was on this. No one was on this. It was called the Kicking Coffin. They would dress up like a funeral and walk it into the park on their shoulders like doing a procession. And put it down on the thing and jack it in. And when you would lift the coffin up, the turntables and the mixers was inside.
A lot of people don't know that the battles in the parks before the rapper was the battle between the DJs.
Absolutely.
Who got the better system,
Absolutely.
the biggest speakers,
Absolutely.
who could block out the other person's shit.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people don't know that.
Now, the same brother Ellis, who built the Kicking Coffin, he also built Pete's Caboose. You can Google that. They actually built a train on tracks and had the sound system inside the train.
Wow.
And they used to bring that out in the park. Mind-blowing stuff. Now, I was always going up to the Bronx when I was a kid because my mother dated a CO up there. I didn't see none of this. You know, I used to be up in Bronx River. I used to be up there.
I used to be in Tracy Tower, too.
They had equipment, but it didn't look like what the stuff I saw in Brooklyn. But after the blackout in 77, that changed everything. All those cats got their first real 1200s, they first real. Actually, it might not even been using 12. They probably using 18s back then. They jumped from cheap ass belt drives, and everybody uptown had direct drive turntables. They had BGW, phase linear. They had Crown amps. All of a sudden, they was pushing house equipment. They mommed stereo, and you'll even see in the original pictures, you'll see fans on everything. They got house fans on everything so it don't blow out. Because nobody had equipment. Brooklyn and Queens had all the professional stuff back then.
Shout out to the blackout of 77,
true.
baby.
It's a fact.
Shout out to the blackout.
Everybody came up.
Everybody came up.
Washing machine.
Now I got
refrigerator.
I gotta talk graph with you. You know, a lot of people's gonna say, "Yo, mathematics don't like to talk graph. He want to talk this history."
Yeah, but it's still culture though.
I got to.
It all connects.
And that's I always say the Vandal hour is more than vandalism, man.
Yes.
It's more than vandalism,
Yes.
man. Let's talk about this word style master. A lot of a lot of people from the earlier generations use this word. I think Part, you see, when I speak to Part, he's very
Part is a style.
Yeah, he definitely references this word. Talk to us about this word, Style Master, and how you see it.
Okay, well, first and foremost, that title has to be bequeathed to you. You can't claim it. That has to be like a Hall of Fame thing. You have to be voted by your peers and your fans to be a style master. Dudes is real loose with that. Like, even I'm very uncomfortable when people call me a style master. Whether I've earned it or not, I'm not doing that. But the people that are, they know, and the whole world knows. And if you're not, cut it out. Because
it's like a person saying they go all city and don't go all city.
Listen,
that type of thing?
That rap lyric, you see through, that's why nobody's ever gonna believe you. It's true. And Style Master is really the highest title because there are many titles. There's like Master Bomber, Most Up, All City, King. Those are titles many people can earn. But Style Master is the hardest to achieve. And you really got to put in a lot of work. There's dudes that gotten so close to it and just dropped out of the game and never earned that level.
I agree with you 100%.
But it's just like degrees.
Give me 3 Style Masters in your opinion. Like your perspective. Name 3 Style Masters.
Oh, sure, that's easy. My favorite of all time, Dondi White, my mentor, definite Style Master. The brother you just mentioned, Part, TDS from the Def Squad.
Make sure you check out Part's book, The Def Squad. Great book.
Yes. I bought 2 copies. And after that, there's a bunch of dudes I consider Style Master. Phase 2.
Is there any modern ones?
Slave. Modern ones?
Can you give me one modern one?
Wow.
One modern one, if there is, in your opinion.
Well, there's a lot of guys that are considered style masters, and I'll let them live. I'll be like, if the people voted you a style master, cool. I'm not gonna name them.
Yeah, okay. I can understand that.
Yeah,
I can understand that.
Because to me, it's like, it's almost like stunting people's growth. Once you get that title, it could be more bad than good.
I just had this conversation with my homie Sosa over there about like certain people getting, once you get into that comfort zone, you stop to thrive.
Like what does Flex say? Cypher, don't get gassed.
Facts. Facts.
It's real easy to get gassed, and I see so many dudes and I'll be like, yo, you was on your way. You was so close. Like, I was about to call you up and be like, good evening, Style Master. And they just stop.
Let me say this to you. This I don't hear this word as I used to. I still see it on the wall a lot. But when's the last time you called somebody a toy?
Well, not too often.
When's the last time you used that phrase towards someone?
Not too often, because the real definition of a toy has nothing to do with style. The real origin of that word had to do with just ignorance. You would get called a toy if you were in the train yard and you were slamming doors. We would be like, oh my God, that's some real toy shit. You attracting heat. We wouldn't walk up to you and you were doing something and we would just call you a toy. That's obvious that you're unskilled and unknowledged. We don't have to highlight that. That's evident. That word really bubbled when you were doing something that you should know better. And if you didn't know better, it was because you was a toy. So I've never really used that word to speak on someone's level. I've always used that word to describe their actions because it's such a painful word. In our culture, that's the N word,
True indeed.
It's when I've seen dudes like go into rage over being called that because you know, it's a hurtful word. And it means so many different things to so many people. But the origin, because I mean, if you look back when the word was first invented, and you look back what people were doing back then, a lot of people would be considered unskilled. So that's why I never took it as a word that meant that you didn't have skills. I took it more as your attitude, the way you carried yourself, your ways and actions. You know, it wasn't always about, you know, that you just couldn't do it. So, you know, if I call you that, you really, you know, you fell and bumped your head. Like you just did something so outlandish. Just like, bro, easy with that toy shit. Like, what's wrong with you? You know, I'm never going to be looking at something you produce and just be like, that shit is toy. Because it didn't mean that to me. Like, when I heard older cats saying it, it would always bubble up when someone was doing something stupid. You know,
that's a fact.
That
that's
you
a fact.
You was kind of just breaking all the codes, or you wasn't carrying yourself like a real writer. You know, and you know, I wish there was a guidebook on that. You know, that I could just hand somebody and say, "This is what we do, and this is how we do it." You know, don't do anything that's not in this book. You know?
Yo, shout out to the writer that writes toy. I see it all the time in the Bronx. Wow. I don't know who it is.
I hope it's a girl.
I hope so too. But whoever it is, shout out to them because it's always etched somewhere.
Nah, that's cool.
Real personal. You know, to have Doc here and not talk about TC5 would be an insult.
Okay.
So I got
That's true.
So I need to, you know, especially for the people like myself, I'm not going to lie to you. I studied this culture for a very long time, and today going through so many articles and stuff about you, a lot of stuff I'm like, oh shit, you know what I mean? First of all, I'm going to ask this on air because I know there's a lot of brothers like myself who definitely thought this. When you seen the TC5, a lot of people thought it had some affiliation to the 5%.
Right.
Is there any truth to that?
Well, not you know, overtly, but you know, a lot of people in the crew, you know, had lessons. You know, some had their 120. You know, it's gonna come up. It's just only natural because that number is just synonymous. You know, it's just that it was a Bronx crew, and I don't know. It didn't seem like there was many. I don't know. Like it didn't catch on up there the way it did in Brooklyn. You know, Brooklyn was, you know, that was it. It was almost like the headquarters.
I almost thought, you know, when I did the research and it said about, you know, where it originated. In the Bronx.
Yeah, it was actually 4 white guys and 1 brother.
I was gonna say some of the writers that the original people that was down with it.
Karachi 11.
Vam. Tall 13. Death. Blade.
Death was the press.
So like,
but that was the crazy 5.
So that's where I think I'm glad you hit it clear.
Yeah.
Because that is I was very confused, and I'm glad I got to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, they were like 4 immigrants and 1 brother, and they did their thing in the Bronx. They were also a band, and they were the best friends. They were a clique that just really got up on trains to like an unbelievable level.
Seen as the unofficial president.
No, he's of the Cool 5.
Okay.
So in like '79, they didn't want to put it up anymore. They were migrating to a new crew called the Impact Brothers, and they just didn't want to be bothered with it anymore. And they passed it to Scene. And he ran with it, and he says, "No, I'll take this. I love the letters. I can work with that, you know." But he changed it to a brother thing. He changed it to the Cool 5. And the Cool 5, to me, was like almost like a younger, another generation of like the Def Squad. Because the Def Squad was basically like a team on the All-Star break.
True indeed.
So if you took everybody that was the dopest in the game and put them in one team, and you just go, nobody could beat them. That's what the Def Squad was.
That's a fact.
So Scene kind of wanted that same energy because he was directly related to Case 2. That was his mentor, him and Butch, who were also on the Def Squad.
We have Butch on the Vandal Hour also.
Yeah, he's a legend. And so many of us have direct ties to the Def Squad through either our mentors or people that we admired, and they were the best at what they did. And Scene was just like a generational writer. He was very much a thinker. He had a plan. He knew how he wanted to do things. He was super creative, and he made the blueprint. And I'll never forget the first time I ever saw him in the Roxy's. He just stood out. I was like, who is that guy? And they're like, yo, that's Scene. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I got to get to know him.
Facto.
I heard things about this dude. And one of my boys, Python, he used to always bring home black books from art and design. And the flyest stuff was always TC5 dudes.
Shout out to Python, who was also on the Vandal Hour also.
And I just was open. I was like, I got to get down with them dudes. You know.
How old are you around this time?
I was probably 14, 15. Ooh. Definitely 15.
Young.
Because he started art and design in 78. So he started bringing the black books home in 78. And I was just like, yo, these dudes dope. By like 79, he was bringing home black books, and it's like Scene, those, Pink, you know, just the illest people. And I'm just, I got to get down with these dudes. And it was always like, yo, they don't really mess with Brooklyn cats, though. I'm like,
that was really like that? I thought.
Sure.
Wow.
Well, you got to remember, in the 70s, unless you had a cousin in the Bronx, you didn't go to the Bronx. The city was so divided, you couldn't move like that. You had to have, like, permission. If you pushing through Harlem, dudes would be like, they just look you up and down. They'd be like, he ain't from here.
Sure indeed.
We dressed different than them. We wore different sneakers. We wore our clothes different, you know, and Brooklyn dudes stood out the most. Everywhere we went, we just stood out. Dudes would be like,
they from Brooklyn.
They from Brooklyn. Jump them.
To this day, it's still like that.
Yeah, oh,
to this day. To this day.
And out of all the boroughs, Bronx hated Brooklyn dudes the most. They just hated us. You know, they always had that attitude, like, you can't take them Brooklyn dudes nowhere. They always sticking somebody up, always fighting, always stealing your girl. And it's, you know, that's what Brooklyn was. You know, we just didn't have that fear, and we always felt every borough was beneath us.
That's the truth.
So we just did dumb shit everywhere we went. We didn't mean to do it. It's just, we're from Brooklyn, you know. So
when did they start that? So when did that acceptance come?
I would say once the culture, I think hip hop culture smoothed that out, because now if you had talent, you could migrate. You get what I'm saying? Whereas I remember in my heyday of like really painting, and dudes would be like, yo, come meet me up at some lonely neighborhood up in the Bronx that got a train yard. I ain't think twice about going. Because when dudes would see me walking down the street, step to me, I'd be like, what? I'm here to see so-and-so. They'd be like, all right. Because that dude was famous up there. You know,
a king going to see a king.
Well, I wasn't a king yet.
No, I'm not. Yeah. I don't mean. When I say a king, the reason why
I feel you.
I use that word because me and my cousin was talking about. I used to go to this day to the wildest projects.
Sure.
But I always had that one person from that project,
absolutely,
who was just that dude.
Absolutely.
So when I go see that, I was so confident. Like, I know it's not going to happen.
People fail to realize, because, you know, after hip hop culture was monetized, all the rappers would move to the front. But in the original days, the writers were the most popular. Period. Because our names are everywhere. Everywhere. You look at a guy, there was no writer more famous than Phase 2 back in the days. He was the man. He had the gear. He did all the flyers for every jam. He had the most style on the trains. I mean, he was known everywhere. So if you was going to his neighborhood and you say, yo, you get stopped by some dudes, yo, who you rolling here through? I'm going to see Phase 2. They'd be like, oh, nah, he right over there. Because they didn't.
And he was a wild boy. He was a wild boy, I heard.
And it was like that in every neighborhood. You get off the train, there'd be dudes lingering, and they try to check you, and you'd be like, who you going to see? Or I'm going to see so-and-so. Oh, nah, no doubt. Like, yeah, keep it moving. Yo, tell them I said what's up. Y'all going to do some graffiti or going to write? Like everybody knew the local writer.
That's a fact.
Period. And so I always tell everybody in the hierarchy, it was writers then DJs, and the rappers were slowly coming up. So it was really the writer, the DJ, the dancer. Rappers were last.
With the Vandal album, that's the idea behind the Vandal album was, the fact that I wrote and, people I was surrounding me is all writers. I just felt that everything it seemed like, they put everything in front of Graph. And I'll be like, that's crazy. Like,
well, that's because, we
wanted to do the reverse.
The devil always going to find the money. And the only thing that he could monetize in the culture was the rappers. Those structures were already in place. Record companies have been there since the beginning of time. So even though they didn't want to be bothered with it, they had to accept it because once they saw kids in the street making money off of it, they had to stop that because with money comes power. One of my favorite stories in music is Too Short. Too Short was going gold and platinum out the trunk of his car in Oakland for years. He had no record deal.
That's a fact.
He would drive around wherever the swap meet was, wherever it was jumping off, where everything was popping. People could approach him and his people and get that new Too Short joint. He had albums that don't exist.
That's a fact.
That've never been pressed. And they gave him an offer he couldn't refuse.
The mob.
And who runs the record business, they not allowing you to get that bread.
Speaking of like that time, you described the time.
Right.
Did you the Get Down when it was out?
Oh, no,
was that a good
trash.
depiction of that time?
Trash. I watched one episode, almost threw a table at my television. See, here's the problem with things like that. The truth is never really that interesting. And that goes with all cultures. So they always have to interject a storyline and they have to make a script and they have to, because the truth just isn't that interesting. And I watched one episode of it and I'm like, what is wrong with, who was the person that did continuity? Who was the person that worked on timeline? Who was the person that fact checked? Who worked on this? And I know people that they approached and was like, well, we want to use you. We want to pick your brain. They didn't want to pay. That's number one. And then number two, they were just recording what you were saying, but it didn't seem like they were really interested in sticking to what they already had in their mind, how they wanted it to be. And
so everybody still became a filler.
Sure. And then once again, they only dealt with the part that could be monetized. The most important part of the film or the show was the music part, because that's the part they think that's the only part that's interesting. And it would blow my mind. A train would go by in a scene and it would be digital and it would be bad. And I'd be like, who did you go to? Did no one tell you that that's horrifying? Like, can we do better? If you'd spent the money to create this what they call a CGI of a train, you couldn't have did it right. You couldn't have hired a couple of artists to do it for you so they could get their industry card and they could work in Hollywood?
Sure, indeed.
Nah, they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. So, it ran for a season and a half, and they got rid of it.
That's it.
Because you know why? It wasn't real. And the kids got bored because as it progresses, they start asking questions. People come to me all the time. Yo, I just saw it. Yo, with that scene, what and I'd be like, no, it didn't happen.
That's why I had to ask you, because you basically described it, your world, which is that, and it seemed different.
Even like in Beach Street when they did the scene in the Roxy's, Harry Belafonte dropped the ball so many times in that movie. He wanted it to be the way he wanted it to be. Whoever was whispering his ear, that was the direction they went. So,
in your opinion, what is the best graph movie, and I mean documentary wise, or so that you think best depicts the culture? In how you feel?
I would say the one that comes the closest to it would be Star Wars. But I even have issues with that.
What's your issue with Star Wars?
Well,
besides, I'm not really talking about Brooklyn.
I think it turned from, two issues I have with Star Wars. It felt like it turned from a documentary into a movie because it had the foil, the evil villain, it had the comedic relief, it had it had characters. Now, it made it interesting, but the people depicted in this film were the people that he was interested in. The greatest people of that era are not even in it.
That's a fact.
And so it's like I don't get it. I don't get it.
But that's the closest to you.
That's the closest. If you never had any contact with the culture, that's a good start. And number 2 would be Wild Style.
One of the ones I like. So let me ask you a question. In Star Wars, this is actually one of the questions I wrote. In Star Wars, the Cap situation in Star Wars. Was TC5 involved in that in any way?
Sure. If you go back to the scene, they're in the studio. It's Shy 147 men, and seeing TC5 talking about Cap. Cap was definitely destroying the stuff guys from the crew did in the Bronx, and the scene that Scene is talking about a train he did, and him and his partner Fade at the time they did a Fat Albert, and Cap went over it. So they definitely were into crossing our stuff out, and I'll never forget. I was, I'm a Brooklyn guy. My stuff at that time wasn't really going up to the Bronx.
Okay.
Or so I thought. And I was doing most of my work on the A line, and then I started producing on the C's, and I totally forgot the C goes to the Bronx. So I'm laughing at all these guys that are getting their work crossed out by this idiot, no talent idiot. And I did a whole new train, me and my partner. Beautiful characters, everything.
Which partner at this time?
At this time was a guy right named KC1.
Okay.
And we went all in. I mean, all in. We used so much paint. It was so elaborate. At that time, it was one of the hottest joints we ever did. And we found this book, I think it was called Cerebus, and they had these, like, an aardvark character. And we put a bunch of those on there. No, I think we put one of those on there. Then on the other side, we had Bode characters. And we really went in on this car. And we patting ourselves on the back, goes uptown, comes back, completely crossed out. Crossed out to the point where
you can't even see shit.
No, they worked on it. No, they let it breathe, but they wrote all over it. Like one of the characters had a medallion, and then the medallion they wrote like toy. They gave our characters mustaches. They went to work, devil horns. All kind of stuff. Like they did us so dirty, it was almost an honor that they didn't just cross it out only. They actually worked on this car. And that's the first time I felt it. Because prior to that, you know, they didn't come to Brooklyn. They didn't come to the BMTs and they didn't come to the INDs. But once they started going to the D Yard in the Bronx, they started catching C trains and they started catching switchovers. And then they started catching us. So I wasn't too happy about that. I really wasn't happy about that because at that point I had gone unscathed. You know, there was people all over the city ready to, you know, murder these dudes. But he was a hard dude to get to because he lived in a really segregated community in the Bronx. He lived in a neighborhood that was like Irish Italian. You know, Marshall Parkway up there. You couldn't. If you got off the train, you would get beat to death. You know,
especially in those times.
People don't understand how divided New York was. You know, New York was actually cut up into blocks and sections and circles and squares and triangles. And you cross that line, you had to know who was the issue on the other side of that line. Whether it was a gang, whether it was the neighborhood, whether it was the cops, whether it was politicians. You didn't know what, you had to know everywhere you went who was the issue. Because you would go one way, the Italians would be trying to stomp you out. You'd go another way. The police would be like, what you doing over here, boy? You go another way. Now you had to deal with gangs. You know, no one would mess with you. You start walking through it, and the gangs would roll up on you. Indeed. So that's how New York was back then. And nobody could get to Cap where he lived. If he lived anywhere else, they could have got to him. But because I'll never forget, I had to do some work around that neighborhood. And I just remember walking around there going, this is like a triple dead end. You go one way, like the train runs underneath the neighborhood. I never seen anything like it. It's like that neighborhood's on a mountain. So you come out the train, you're on high elevation, and you come down into the neighborhood. And if you get turned around on any of them streets, you're done. So I'm sure dudes thought about going up in that neighborhood, but you know, a lot of that, because dudes always say to me, especially artists from other countries, you know, if Cap was so hated, why didn't somebody get to him? I said, you couldn't get to him. I said, he was a grown-ass man compared to us.
True indeed.
You know, we were teens. He was a man. He had access to cars. He had access to guns. He had access to a crew of other
similar individuals.
They were all like a whole carload of insane white boys. You wasn't getting to him. I'll never forget, we were at a show one time. This gallery was called a Fun Gallery.
I heard of that.
And me and Devious Doze is walking down the street, and you just see writers going past us.
Wow.
And we're like what's down the block? Godzilla? Like what? Why is everybody running this way? And a dude was like, yo, you heard? Cap's inside the Fun Gallery. And we were like, word? All right. We went right to it. Like, it's time to knuckle up. You know, we definitely going to knock the taste out of his mouth. And when we got inside, that was the first time I had ever saw him in person. And he was a man. He wasn't a teenager. That's the first thing I noticed. And he's in there with like a cut-off MC jacket, MC boots, wild Viking hair, looking bananas.
I heard many people with similar stories.
And he had an axe handle in his hand. No blade on it, just the axe handle, walking around the gallery. And then all of a sudden my vision widens, and I notice there's like 5 other white dudes in there with axe handles. And the gallery's empty. Except a couple of chicks that stayed in that didn't know who he was. And he's just walking around, and me and Doze just kind of did the electric boogie out the door, like we moonwalked backwards, hoping they didn't, because they were just looking at dudes putting the axe handle in their chest, like, what you write? And it was the wrong name. They was gonna beat you to death. And then I remember we walked out, we got away down the block, and I just remember saying, like, I really hate this dude for real now. You know, I really hate him for real. If I ever see this dude solo without a weapon, I'm gonna go for it, because like this isn't fair that there's no reciprocity. You know, if somebody goes over, you should be able to get a fair one, and you should be able to get at them. And he was one of those dudes. If you went at him once, he went after you for life. He wouldn't let none of your shit live. And being that he never did pieces,
It was just wrecked to him.
exactly, you couldn't win. He always won. You know. And then fast forward to the future, I'll never forget. I'm up in Connecticut. There's like a graffiti jam up there. And a guy walks up, some old feeble dude with the shakes, walks up to me and goes, "Yo, you want a beer?" And I look at him, I go, "Damn, this dude looks familiar. Where do I know this guy from?" And one of my boys goes, "Yo, you know that's Cap, right?" And I go,
Word.
and my hand just balled up.
I met him in the late years also.
And
It don't look like the
Yeah,
two
oh,
people.
no,
It's two
no,
different.
no, no,
It's two
he-
different people.
yeah. And I just said, you know what? There's no justice in beating this dude up now. You know, I'd be a monster if I did that, and I just let it rock. But it just disgusted me having to be in proximity to him. You know, because he's the King Leopold. He's the
Facts.
what's the other cat? He's the
I know you. I get you though.
yeah. He's the he's bad news. Like he's every evil man in history that destroyed a culture. He assumed that mantle, and he wore it proudly. You know, he's Cecil Rhodes to me. You know, he's King Leopold. He's those people. You know, it's the same thing. He killed culture. He killed the people and the culture, because everything we did, he destroyed it.
I heard he was going in. I want to end this on a positive note.
Sure.
I appreciate you for coming through the Vandal Hour.
Absolutely.
It was a great conversation. I'm not going to lie to you. It was, for me personally, I love the way you explain stuff, and it was a great conversation. The last thing I want to say is, man, when I think of TC5, I think of these characters. These
Okay.
characters, man. The one that's popping into my head is the one I never knew. It looked like a train on top of the guy's head, but it could be like an Egyptian crown-ish.
What, this one?
Yes. What was the inspiration behind that character, God?
Well, it's funny. At that time, I was just becoming aware, and I didn't know that the occupants of Egypt were Arabs at this point, but they weren't the originals, and that was a kind of another connection thing with the name Arab, and so I started doing these Egyptian characters, linking it to the Arab, not knowing at that moment that it's not the same people, So that was a mistake by my part, but I know better now. But that's what that was. This character is actually a caricature of myself at that time, because I always had the flat top. I always wore like the dark chiseled glasses. I always had the beard sculpted the same way. So that was
That's deep.
that was a version of myself. But the characters in the crew of TC5 really emanated from the vice president at that time. His name is Doze. He's the one who actually created the characters that we know today.
It's very distinct. Very distinct.
No, every character that everybody does today is off of his blueprint. And I was a decent artist. I always tell people my discipline is letter creation and style. I'm a artist. He was a super artist, and his discipline was drawing people. And he was the first person that took us from ski goggle Afro man and actually turned
Facts.
the graffiti character into something that was pseudo realistic. So he was able to put the exaggerations in the right place. He always moved the bodies to match the letters. That all came from him. And when he stopped writing, I just basically took a lot of his stuff and just regurgitated it, you know. So if you look in a book like Mugs and Mascots, you'll see my whole section. I'll tell people I wasn't the dude. You know, I was the dude standing next to the dude. You know, he like I said, when he stopped writing, I just was like, yo, this got to live. You know, it just can't end right here. And so I would just be like, oh, that's nice. I'm going to do this tonight. Yeah. Like,
That's what happens when it's home team. It's home team.
I would be like, oh, that's nice. Oh, you just, when did you do this? Oh, all right. Thank you. And I would take it to the train yard with me. And, you know, I could duplicate, but creating is hard, you know, especially when it comes to drawing. Most artists can copy anything, but to just tell somebody straight up, take a piece of paper and draw
off the top of their head,
or draw something from their imagination. Very few people can do that and do it well. So he was one of those people that could do that, and he is the godfather of all graffiti characters. That's him, hands down. So it became a thing with the crew within our personal culture that once you got in the crew, you know, this is how we do it. And it should look like this. This is the foundation, you know, build from there.
Do what you do with it.
Right. So like when you said you had Doves in here, Doves is a guy who's like third generation of our crew, and he's nasty with it, but he has the foundation because his teacher, Dante, had that skill set also, and he learned, once again, from others, but primarily he was influenced by those also. So I tell anybody, if you're really into characters and that's your thing, pick up the book Mugs and Mascots. That's like an excellent learning tool. Like you not only get the pictures, but you get the verbiage.
To me, that's the most important part.
No, that is the most important part because all the knowledge comes through the folklore. You know, it goes from the talking, all the stories.
True indeed.
And, you know, that's how it's all passed on. You know, you could be shown whatever you want, but your brain and eye is just a camera and a hard drive. You know, what actually sticks with you longer is the story.
That's a fact. At least in my life, it has.
No, it's from the beginning of time.
Any last words? Any shout outs you want to give?
Well, nah, I don't do shout outs. Yeah, no, I just tell everybody, just if you can't be the best at what you do, and understand that there's no ceiling. You know, when I started this, I was horrible, like everybody else, but I had a goal, and I think most artists don't set goals. You know, when I was asked very early on, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be one of the best that ever did it. And they laughed at me. And I was just like, yeah, but that's the goal. You know, I'm not setting goals down here. And that's what most artists do. Most artists, they say, oh, I just want to get my name all over the city, or I want to get up in this magazine, or I want my stuff on this website, and that's the goal. No. From day one, I was like, I want to be one of the best that ever did it. And, you know, and I don't even think I've hit it. You know, that's why I just keep going. So no matter how dope somebody tells me I am, no matter how good they tell me I am, or how I influence them, or I don't let none of that go to my head. Like even 3 weeks ago, I was in Norway doing some art out there, and the promoter asked me, he said, do you know why we brought you out here? And I said, nah, I just figured y'all like my work. He goes, there was a documentary that a guy made, or a short film that he made. He was a photographer from Norway, and he came to the Roxy's in '84.
Wow.
And he was filming artists, filming DJs, filming whoever, and he filmed me in '84.
Wow.
And he started asking me questions, and I dropped knowledge on them. And I didn't know what was going to happen to this. I was always getting cameras stuck in my face, but I was always taught to be on point and have something knowledgeable to say. So they took this footage back. They made a project out of it, and they showed it to to who became the pioneers of Norway. So now flashback to the future. The guy said, yo, when they showed us what you said, it resonated with us like we had a purpose. Like we knew, like basically whatever I told them gave them culture. And they were able to run with it. And he says, we've been wanting to bring you out here for years. And, you know, now we're flying you out just so you could paint with us and do this thing. And I'm sitting there going, wow. You know, and that's really what it's all about. Like, you never know how things are going to manifest. You never know, you know, that jewel you drop, how, you know, it could turn into a whole bag of diamonds. You know, just
that's a fact.
Most artists and creative people don't think on that level. So, you know, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. If you always got something knowledgeable to say, or you actually study your discipline the way you're supposed to, you know, things just happen. They just open up for you. So, you know, I've been all around the world on this graph thing. You know, I got to be an artist on many music videos. I got to be documented in magazines.
I forgot about that. My bad.
I mean, you know, I know you don't have much
Real
time.
quick, no, I want to ask you. I want to ask you about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely want to get that in. So a lot of people don't know that you have a history in the hip hop aspect, especially with these videos.
Sure.
Tell me some of the videos you was involved in.
S.TREET Blues, Coogee Rap and Polo.
My favorite.
I actually created, me and my partner Beam, we actually created that Monopoly game that they're playing with the cop is a pig and the hypodermic needle. I made that. Me and my boy, we sat down and we made that for the video. I was the assistant art director on that. Some people know this, but I was also the assistant art director on TLC's Ain't Too Proud to Beg. I did all the graffiti in that and didn't get credit, you know, because TLC thinks Hype Williams did it.
Wow.
But, you know, I did that. I worked with X-Clan, Bobby Brown. I'm trying to think of other videos I did.
Which Bobby Brown one?
Humping Around.
Oh!
Yeah, no, that was a cool one because Whitney showed up on the set.
Shout out to Whitney Houston. Rest in peace, man. One of the illest singers that ever touched a microphone.
But it was bizarre because, like, she showed up, you know, I think she was checking up on him to make sure he wasn't humping around. But what blew my mind, you know, she came, she sat down, wide leg, you know, like she'd never been to church.
Yeah, she's real.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know she's real.
Pulled out a Marlboro, start puffing, and we're all like, wow, she's hood. It's true, you know, like, you know, she from Orange, you know, she was a real hood chick.
True indeed.
I mean, she could, you know,
she could hang out with gangsters.
yes, she could go from you know, from
Clive Davis to gangsters.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. It was just bugged out, and but yeah, I remember building. If you ever see the X-Clan video for
the pink Cadillac.
Yeah, it had the pink Cadillac in it. I worked on that one, but there's a tree that we built. It was supposed to be Africa, and it was like hollowed out inside, and they're like dancing around it.
Oh wow!
You know, I got to work and build on that, and yeah, a lot of other things. But it was also the validation of my discipline. You know, you got to remember, we were told this graffiti thing was just stupid. You know, and you know, people are proud to call themselves vandals now, but once upon a time that was an ugly word. You know, to even be associated, y'all. I mean, we moved in darkness because we were embarrassed to let people know that's what we did. And now it's just, you got all these.
It's in vogue.
Oh, you got all these wannabe street artists that know nothing about the culture, coming from Wisconsin, you know, West Bubblefuck, just, you know, just trying to steal culture. You know, they're just vampires. They don't
Culture
understand.
vultures.
Yeah, they're even worse. They're vampires. They're worse than vultures. And they don't understand, like, you know, that whole ashy to classy thing, you know, we lived that. Like, it upsets me. I was watching I forgot what, I don't know if it was a Toyota or whatever. The sister's spray painting, and she's turning on the lights in her house from her car, and I'm enraged, and they're like, "What you mad about?" I'm like, "Why couldn't they get a real artist?
Writer. Sure
a
indeed.
real we pioneers this spray paint thing." You know, people, when I ask street artists, "Why do you use spray paint?" They can't tell me. I go, why that? Why did you put the paintbrush down and pick up a spray can? And they can't give me a definitive answer.
And that's a fact, man. And that's a fact. I like there is definitely a direct influence off of graph. Even when you see the trains with the new posters and advertisement on the trains,
that drives me nuts.
That's crazy.
When I was in Europe in the 90s, they would have whole entire trains with advertisements. This is new here. They've been doing that in Europe since the 90s.
Wow.
And it ain't no little thing. They would have the entire train covered with, I have a photo of a train in Berlin with a Citibank ad, whole car top to bottom. Wow. And that was in like 90, 91. You know, and I'm looking at that and go, you put me in jail for doing that. Why don't you just pay me to do the Citibank ad?
Let me say this. I feel that way about getting locked up for weed in 1998, man. Now this shit is legal everywhere.
Yeah.
I got a felony on my jacket, and now everybody named Mother Cuomo about to make it legal. Yo, Cuomo, make sure you take that F on my shit. I might go to the army now. No, I'm fucking with you. But that shit is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Chappelle said the other day, he says America is going to sell weed to pay its bills when they locked you up for selling weed to pay your bills.
That's a fact.
It's disgusting. I think all those crimes should be vacated. Anyone that went to jail for weed should be released. It's just retarded.
Now they got 2 felonies.
See, if you would have wrote graffiti, you might have been good.
You know what I mean?
We were a lot slicker. I'm proud to say my record is 100% spick and span. I never even been in back of a squad car.
God, no lie to you. I appreciate your energy, man. I appreciate you coming up to the Vandal Hour, giving us some real history, not no motherfucking, glossy white shit, but like a real history, man. And
I just want to show people where this can go. You know, from a kid with a couple of markers and a sketch pad, it evolved all the way to me, getting opportunities to travel the world, Hollywood, the whole thing.
If you know anybody else that's in a team that should be up here, I know you have a different eye on things. So if you feel somebody can hold a good conversation with us.
I think you should get my boy seen TC5 in here.
Yo, please, if you could connect the dots for us, I would appreciate you.
That's a phone call.
We're going to take some pictures and we out of here. But before we get out of here, shout out to all the Vandal Hour guards. Shout out to everyone who has supported the Vandal Hour for these going on 5 years. We know we're going to do a big party at the end of this year to celebrate our 5-year anniversary. Shout out to Doc/Arab TC5 for pulling up, giving us a real good convo. You know what I mean?
Anytime.
I'm not going to lie to you. When this is over tonight, I will be going home immediately to watch this. Y'all have a good night. Thank you. Shout out to Sosa on the motherfucking cameras and boards. Shout out to Facts and Wax, East Sinatra that bring that back, dude. June 457, Giggles, Brat, Guest, and all the people that came before me to be the hosts of the Vandal Hour. Peace.
Peace. Okay, I hope that was good.
That was great. Let me go to the bathroom real quick.